Shalom la bahaya wa halalyam la Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi wa mashna kabad la zakwanyam wa shalalyam, great millstone. All praises to Yahawah in the name Yahawashi. Double honors to the elders and apostles of great millstone that rule well and labor this word and doctrine. And shalom to the elect, la bahaya, to the elect. So here we are. So the crown pestilence will be around forever, says Sir Patrick Valence. What is that? I don't know if you heard that, Salaki. So it says, well, let's just first analyze the likes, the dislikes. People are getting fed up of this, and maybe this isn't a stratified sample. This is not according to the scientific method, but this is just to show people are getting fed up with this. So 56 minutes ago, these are the top comments. So they say, we all know this is going to be used as an excuse for anything. Yeah. So you're saying we need to get back to normal, then live with it, meaning they're sick of these lockdown measures. Just sort of scrolling through. Just like lockdown, it seems never ending. And I've said, just speaking as a man, I can see this whole year, I can't see any time this year it becoming unlockdown. Look, they say the crown pestilence will be around forever, quote by God. Oh, sorry, said Patrick Valence. And that is the pride of Esau Edom. Well, this is going to be here forever. Well, how do you know? Have you been to forever? Have you been given revelation of the Lord? It says it's going to be here forever. MSM, that would be standing for mainstream media. MSM is dead. The public have witnessed lie after lie and are done. So this is basically what is that, man? This is what I'm saying. This is what it means by controlling the virus is controlling us. By tyranny. Now these are the let's check the most recent as well. Digitally controlled, socially distanced, theocratic tyranny. Theo, going back to the word God in it. So you have democratic, of the people, government. I think kratic or kratos means government. Salaki, if I'm mistaken. Look it up anyway. You should be in the spirit of wanting to know what it means, not taking a man's word. So the answer to how would you describe life in Britain in 2025? Here we are, we've lost all of our freedoms. In other news. Okay. See, and I'm just letting you read it, innit? I'm not really commenting. Because these are the comments, So Hannah Smirnoff says, wearing a mask is a cultural identity marker signaling allegiance to an ascendant style of left-wing politics, like taking a knee in support of BLM, being the Black Lives Matter. There we are. Look. And that's a beautiful point. This is Reet Petite. This is blah 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 blah. And finally, bollocks to you plebs. I'm still getting paid. And what is a pleb? Salaki, it says blah blah. But what is a pleb? Why would they bring that up? That's a beautiful point. Etymonline.com, the online etymology dictionary, says pleb, N for noun, one of the common people, a low-born person. 1856 as a colloquial shortening of plebeian in the ancient Roman sense. West Point sense attested by 1851. See plebe. So we will see plebe first. It says also pleb, member of the lowest class at a U.S. military academy, 1833. Probably a shortened form of plebeian, one of the lower class, which in Latin also had the short form plebs or plebes. I believe that's how you pronounce it. So, you had a comment there in reference to Britain, or the United Kingdom, England, and all the surrounding islands and places. But plebeian, or plebe, a member of the lowest class at a U.S. military academy. And what is a plebeian? It made mention earlier of what? Ancient Roman, which is what this society is again. So here we are, plebeian, of or characteristic of the lower class or the common people. 1560s, I can't read, 1560s in a Roman historical sense. From Latin plebeius, belonging to the plebs. Earlier plebes, the populace, the common people, as opposed to patricians, etc. Also, commonality, the mass, the multitude, the lower class. To fill. There we are. And now here we have ancient Rome, plebeians and patricians. I'm going to read through this, and Lord willing, touch into some prophecy to show ancient Rome back then and how it is now according to the scriptures. So ancient Rome, plebeians and patricians. Roman citizens were divided up into two distinct classes, the plebeians and the patricians. The patricians were the wealthy upper class people. Everyone else was considered a plebeian. The patricians were the ruling class of the early Roman Empire. Only certain families were part of the patrician class, and you had to be born a patrician. The patricians were only a small percentage of the Roman population, but they held all the power. And now you have, in a society as this, you do have that, but more so you have an elite group, and then it sort of diminishes in rank as you go down, and you have that on a spiritual sense on who's set up to rule, and you have that on a carnal sense in terms of the family will keep it. On an earthly sense, they will intentionally keep it, so they're not going into any other manner of people or lower class and rank. Now that was more common in I don't want to say ancient, but in older days, even in England. However, there seemed to be a societal reform with the counterculture of the 1960s and everything going into the sort of the how we see it today. That's where it really took hold at that point. It says plebeians. All the other citizens of Rome were plebeians. Plebeians were the farmers, craftsmen, laborers, and soldiers of Rome. Plebeian officers. Eventually, the plebeians were allowed to elect their own government officials. They elected tribunes who represented the plebeians and fought for their rights. They had the power to veto new laws from the Roman Senate. And you've always got two sort of parties, and this is what it's going back into when you have the Salakia. I think it's the 8th chapter, but I'm not going to guess. Alright, 1 Maccabees 8 and 15. Well, I kind of did guess by saying that. I meant verse. 1 Maccabees 8 and 15. Moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered. And you have that in the Senate. They're still known as the Senate, but you have a mirroring of that sort of idea with a parliament in the UK or England for in terms of that video. Let's go back to that article. So when we're talking about plebeian officers, you have ones that are called labour. That's in the UK, or I'll say again, in England. Labour Party, meaning workers, which would correlate to the farmers, craftsmen, labourers, and now they're called in the UK. Sorry, I keep doing that. Salakia, because I'm saying that because it's inaccurate. In England, you have a party Labour, and the opposite of the Conservatives. Conserve meaning to preserve and keep with servants. So keep their ancient paths to a degree. Whereas you have the plebeians, that's where you get a lot of the counterculture. The plebeians, the Labour Party would link up more so with the Democrats in the USA, Babylon the Great, and the Conservatives, the Republicans. But there are, it's more, what's the word for it? I need to get the... 1 minute, I'm going to pause it until I can think of the word, because I need that word. The word I was looking for was nuanced. It's more nuanced than that. It's not as simple as this party is this party, but they hold the same ideals to an extent. Okay, so now let's touch prophecy. This is Revelation 13:1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So this would go into the Roman Empire, the 7 heads being NATO, and the 10 horns being the EU, and them all tracing their lineage, or not lineage in terms of that, their national origin, as we understand it today in terms of Sweden would go back to one place, Denmark another, Germany another, but they wouldn't necessarily keep the same identical name as 2,000 years ago and even before that. And then you have a similitude. It says Revelation 13:11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And this will be going into the United States or the divided states of America, aka Mystery Babylon, the Whore, the Great. It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And the 2 horns would be what? The plebeians and the patricians. That's the sort of ones that it was in the first beast here. But now you have in the... I didn't mean to highlight that. Now you have in the 11th there. I will highlight that. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb. That'd be going into the Democrats and the Republicans. It says, and he spake as a dragon. So he spake as a serpent, as a dragon, as you have... they're all synonymous according to Revelation 12 and 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him, showing that old serpent from the garden was the same peoples. Like you have some that teach it's the Canaanite. Well, how would you correlate that with how it's going into the war in heaven? What dragon is that going against? Because it says it would say it was the same, and it doesn't mean that it's literally a serpent. And the serpent, when you see a snake, that is the spiritual demon Satan. It's a spiritual explaining that. And then again, for certain camps, that doesn't mean that everything in the scriptures is now spiritual and there's nothing literal. You have to use balance, and it's really the spirit that would do it. And he spake as a dragon. And it goes on, and it tells about the miracles he would do, even fire. That would be a great wonder, but also a miracle. And then Revelation 13:16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. That mark, when you go into the word mark, it means charagma, an idol or an engraving. Engraving means to cut in. So yes, it is an incision, yes, it is a cutting, and yes, it also is an idol or a graven image. And it said, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And that buy and sell is talking about physical buying or selling. And this is what they're going to use, how we see it, this is what they're going to use to bring in that. If it's going to be around forever, then you can always have the possibility of being able to bring this in. And when this doesn't work and when that doesn't work, well, it was going to be around forever, but now we've got this. and you can buy with it, you can sell with it, so the money's not going to be a problem. We won't have to keep social distancing, possibly. Now, when we're going into the specifics like that, we only know in part and we prophesy in part. However, we know all things, and that's not a contradiction, because all of this is in the scripture, and the Lord is not the author of confusion. So the confusion with lining up certain witnesses and witnesses, if there's confusion, that would be of man. That couldn't be a divine understanding to say that there is literal contradictions, is in that sense in terms of the doctrine. 1 Corinthians 13 and 9, for we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. Why is that? Because when that which is perfect is come, we shall all be changed, and we will not have carnal, earthly flesh to contend with. So there will not be, like Paul talks in Rome towards the end of Romans, the 7th chapter, talks about the flesh and how that is a hindrance. 1 Corinthians 15, and we'll start at 50. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I shew you a mystery, we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. It says, for this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So we thank the Lord Yahawah through Yahawashi Mashiach that we could attain that. That it's not based on this flesh, that it's not based on all the works of the law, because we'd all be guilty. There's certain laws that are so obvious, but they're not kept in this society, and that is a stumbling block then to the Gentiles, being us, coming back into it, because we're like, well, that's so it's either troubling unto them at the start. Some people get it straight away, but there's certain ones that can be a stumbling block. For example, Thapash. But there's also many laws that are just difficult, near impossible to keep. Or we can't keep peace offerings or any new moon offerings in a temple when we don't have a temple. So that's how the blood of Yahawashi Mashiach is so important. And so lucky, I know I rambled for a bit then, but I was trying to demonstrate something. So we're in a time of great mourning, even the beginning of sorrows. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Was it? I think it's 16. 2nd Ezra 16 and 18. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? And the answer to that is trust in the Lord, trust in Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. So we are going into a time, especially if they're saying it's going to last forever, that means they've got plans. But the Lord, what does it say? A man can, it's in another version, talks about a man can plan. This is Proverbs 16 and 9. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord Yahawah directeth his steps. So let that comfort you, that whatever these elites, whatever these governments are meant to do, or are supposed to do, or are intending to do, they will only be allowed as far as the Lord permitteth. So I pray that was edifying. On to the next one, Lord willing. Giving all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi.